On this one, what do? Yeah, you distribute, which is FOIL method. Both of you were right. So I'm going to take the 4, right, and I do 4 times 5. What is that? 20. Is everybody good with the first step? Then you do 4 times 4, which is what? 16. And don't forget your square root of 2. Does that make sense to everybody?
So you wouldn't multiply by
No, you don't. No, it's just 4 times 4 is 16, and bring your square root of 2 down. Okay? Then the next one is the same thing. It's going to be your 2 times 5, which is what? 10 square root of 2. And you're going to notice that these numbers always match. And guess what else you're going to notice? That these two numbers, the last one I'm about to get, they always match. The last one's the trickiest. Is everybody good so far with how I got all those? Now, this one, what is 2 times 4? 8. So I'm going to write 8. But then what is square root of 2 times the square root of 2? 2. So that is 8 times 2. Does everybody know where I got that from?
8 times 2. Can we
Yep. Yes. Do y'all want me to go back through it, or y'all just want to write it?
Can you say what you just said again?
Yeah. You want me to start from the beginning?
Sure.
Oh, yeah. I'll just start from the beginning, just to make sure. So, look. I start with a 4, and I do 4 times 5. I'm just distributing it. 20. 4 times 4, 16. Don't forget your square root of 2. 2 times 5 is what? 10. Don't forget your square root of 2. There was nothing else to multiply by. But on the last one, there is something else to multiply by. So what is 2 times that 4? 8. And what's the square root of 2 times the square root of 2? 2.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So, but that's not going to be just 8 times 2. What is that number? What's 8 times 2? 16. So look, I'm going to write 16 right there.
So why don't you
Okay.
like every time you distribute, why don't you do the square root of 2 each time?
Well, you do. Well, not on 4 times 5, but on this one, if I did 4 times 4 square root of 2, it is 16 square root of 2. The square root of 2 is there, but I only have one of them. I don't have another one to multiply by. This one, by the 5, there's not another one to multiply by. But on the last one, there's a square root of 2 and a square root of 2, and that's times 2. And it's always going to be that way. Or I hate to say it, let me see what the rest of them look like. Yeah, so it's always going to be like that. And notice, like I said, those two numbers we can combine, and then what? Those two we can combine. What did you say? What are you asking?
I was wondering why whenever you were distributing the 2 square root of 2, why didn't you distribute it to 4 square root of 2? But it's...
I did.
2 square root of 2 times square root of
2 times the 4 was the 8, and then the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 was 2.
Not the last one. Whenever you went from 2 to 5 and did the 10 square root of 2.
Yeah.
Because the 2 is behind the...
Because they're 2 different ones.
Yeah, because there's not another square root of 2 to do that.
So you have to leave it. Okay? And we'll do some more. You'll see it's a pattern. It's the same thing. So what is 20 plus 16? I'm going to come write it over here. So I get 36. And then what is 16 plus 10 square root of 2? 26 square root of 2. And that's your answer. And they always do like the number first. I hate saying number, they're both numbers. But they always do the square root second. Okay? 20 plus 16 is the 36. And then the 16 plus 10. Like you can combine those two. And that's 26.
Is that all we're doing?
That's multiplying. Multiplying isn't bad. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy, but division to me is the harder one. But I'm going to do several examples. I think y'all will get it by the time we've got like 3 more I'm going to do of multiplication. Or I can do more than that too. If I have 3 minus the square root of 7, and then 5 plus the square root of 7. Okay, let me put a little line so it doesn't get confusing. What is 3 times 5? 15. And then we have 3 times the square root of 7. It's just 3 square root of 7. Oh, that's what I was trying to raise. Okay, so I'm going to write 3 square root of 7. Is everybody okay with that? All right, now we'll go to the next one. Negative square root of 7 times 5. Negative 5 square root of 7. Is everybody okay with that one? Then the last one, remember it's going to be a number, like without a square root. Well, first of all, what's a negative times a positive? So we're going to have a negative, and what's the square root of 7 times the square root of 7? 7. See, that one wasn't so bad. We didn't have as many numbers out front, so don't make it difficult. Combine what you can. What's 15 minus 7? 8. And then 3 minus 5? Negative 2. There we go. Do y'all want one more like that one? Yes. Okay. I'll do one more like that, and then I'll go to the next little set. Not division yet. 3 plus 2 square root of 5 and 2 plus 4 square root of 5. So what's 3 times 2? 6. 3 times 4 square root of 5. What's 3 times 4? 12 square root of 5. And then 2 square root of 5 times 2. What's that one? 4 square root of 5. Is everybody okay so far? And then this one, okay, we got a lot of numbers here. What's 2 times 4? 8. And then square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is 5. Any questions on that part? Everybody understand where we got 8 times 5? Because there was 2 parts on that one. 2 times 4 is 8. Square root of 5 times square root of 5 is 5. I'm going to change that, though. What is 8 times 5? 40. I'm going to make a little note. So I'm going to add 40 and 6. And what is that? 46. And what's 12 plus 4? 16. Square root of 5. And that's our answer. We good with those? Okay. This is different. No, this isn't dividing. While they're writing this, does anybody remember what this is called? They are called. It starts with a C.
Because if it's one, then it has to.
Somebody was about to say it. No. You want me to just tell you? No, not yet. Y'all want a second? I gotta just tell y'all. It's conjugates. Do y'all heard me say that, right? It's where they're the same, well, almost. One has a plus sign and one has a minus sign. And what ends up happening is something cancels out. Okay? It's the same exact process, but our answer is actually smaller because something canceled out. All right? So, and we need to remember conjugates because that's what we have to use for division. Okay? So we're going to do 5 times 5, which is what? 25. 5 times the square root of 7. 5 square root of 7. Negative square root of 7 times 5. Negative 5 square root of 7. And negative square root of 7 times square root of 7. Negative 7. So it's 25 minus 7. What's that? 18. 18. And then what happens to 5 square root of 7 minus 5 square root of 7? It canceled out. So notice when you use the conjugate, what happens to all the square roots? They go away. That's going to be important because in a little bit, can you have a square root in the denominator? We learned that the other day, right? Can't have a square root in the denominator. So on those, they cancel out. Are we? So your answer is 18. Yeah. We'll do one more of that before we go on to division. And if I need to do 2 more like that, just tell me. We're almost done. I mean, like we've got this one we're doing, and then division is it. And there's only one division example. I can do several of them, but I'm trying to see. I think they keep that easy. Okay, can I do another one? All right, I'm going to scoot it over. If I have 3 plus square root of 8, 3 minus square root of 8. Okay, which some of you could probably just jump to the answer. If you knew how to shortcut it, I'm fine with that. But I'm working the whole thing out, okay? So 3 times 3 is 9. And this is where some of you could just go to what the end is. 3 times negative square root of 8 is what? Negative 3 square root of 8. Square root of 8 times 3, that one is positive 3 square root of 8. Everybody okay with that? Just your number goes out front, your square root goes second. I have a 3 times the square root of 8. 3 times the square root of 8. Okay? Now, that cancels out. We knew it would. What is the square root of 8 times negative square root of 8? Negative 8. So what is 9 minus 8? 1. And then that negative 3 square root of 8 plus 3 square root of 8 cancels out. So do I need to explain any of that again, where any of those numbers came from? Does everybody know where negative 3 square root of 8 and positive 3 square root of 8 came from? It was from that and this, okay? Are we good?
Can you hold on?
Yes, I can. Okay. All right, we ready for our next one? Are we ready for division? Ready or not? All right, so yesterday at the very beginning of class, we kind of learned, I know we didn't learn it, we didn't spend a lot of time on it, so we didn't learn it like as good as we should have, but you cannot have a square root in the denominator. So when they give us, we'll do a few of these.
So we're on division, right?
We're on division. See, can you tell the difference? I have a numerator and a denominator. Can you have square roots in the denominator? No, you can't. The only way, yesterday we kind of learned you just multiply by that square root. But in this case, it's a bunch of them. So what do we multiply by? We just learned it. The conjugate. When you multiply by the conjugate, what happens? It cancels all the square roots out. Okay? So what is the look at the denominator. What would the conjugate be? Yeah, so I'm going to do square root of 5 plus square root of 2. And guess what? I also have to do it to the what? The top. It's basically multiplying by 1. Is everybody okay with that step? Maybe, kind of.
Wait, you're multiplying?
No, I didn't get it.
The only way to get rid of the square roots, we just learned, if you multiply by the conjugate, the square roots go away. We cannot have square roots in the denominator. So the only way to get rid of them is to multiply by the conjugate. So instead of having a minus sign, what do we put? A plus sign. So if I multiply up down here, I have to multiply up here as well. Okay? Because it's basically all I'm doing. It looks like some of y'all are probably thinking, she's just making stuff up. Y'all, I'm not changing that at all. I am multiplying by 1. Does anybody see that? Like, what's 3 over 3? If I did 3 divided by 3 in my calculator, what is that? 1. What's 2 divided by 2? 1. What is that number divided by that number?
1.
Also 1. So I'm not really changing anything. I'm multiplying by 1. It would be the same thing. Okay? So that's why this works. Have y'all like balanced equations and stuff in chemistry and no? Okay. Anyway, but it's the same idea in math, like you have to keep things balanced. You can't change one thing and not something else. Okay? So, what I'm going to do is let's just start with the numerator. Okay? It's a lot to it. So, luckily on this one, I don't have to use full method. I just distribute one thing. In a second, we'll do full method in the numerator. What is 3 square root of 2 times the square root of 5? Be careful on this one. The number outside is what? I only have a 3. What is the square root of 2 times the square root of 5? Square root of 10. Does everybody understand that? When they're both under the square root, you can multiply them. Before, I didn't have anything to multiply. Okay, I just had numbers on the outside. What is, be careful here, 3 square root of 2 times the square root of 2? 3 times 2, which is what?
6.
So I'll write it up here where that came from. 3, and then what's the square root of 2 times the square root of 2? 3 times 2, which is what? 6. Okay, I just distribute. Y'all, I'm going to do several more. Okay? I don't ever expect y'all to get it all on the first problem I showed you. Not in Algebra 2. Okay, now let's do the bottom one. Okay, all that's in the numerator. Now we have to figure out the denominator. Well, what is the square root of 5 times the square root of 5? 5. Do y'all want me to do the middle ones, or do y'all know that they're going to cancel out? It's up to y'all.
Can you?
Yes. So then I have, what's the square root of 5 times the square root of 2? What's 5 times 2? So that's the square root of 10. What is negative square root of 2 times the square root of 5? Negative square root of 10. So what happens to those? They're going to cancel. Now let's do the last one. Negative square root of 2 times the square root of 2. Negative 2. So that's my denominator. Then we're going to start simplifying. Okay? It's like 2 more steps left. All right, so I'm going to write down the top one. And what do I get for the denominator? What's 5 minus 2? 3. What happened to the square root of 10 minus square root of 10? Cancels out. So is everybody good with this up to this point? We'll go back through it if we need to. What do y'all notice that they all have? 3, 3, and basically 6 can be divided by 3. So we're going to divide them by 3. What is 3 divided by 3?
1.
So I have 1 square root of 10. And what is 6 divided by 3?
2.
There's our answer.
That was hard.
I told y'all math isn't so, I can't even say the words. Multiplying them isn't so bad. The division, it is. Please don't expect to get it first try.
Yeah, I should get 3 square root of 10. I don't know.
So it's
Well, if I couldn't cancel them out, I would leave it like that. Yeah, because there's times where like quadratic formula looks like that, right? But when they can be reduced, you reduce them. But both of those numbers outside have to be divisible. Okay, can I write the next one? You want to try? Let's do another one just like it. 2 square root of 7 square root of 3 minus square root of 5. Okay, what am I going to multiply by on this one? I can't divide all this, but I have to get... Yeah, so the square root of 3 plus the square root of 5. I have to multiply the top and the bottom. Okay, so let's start with the top. And I always like to put mine in parentheses. To me, it just kind of, it helps. So on this one, I only have 1 to multiply. So what is 2 square root of 7 times the square root of 3? Well, the only number on the outside is what? 2. Uh-huh. Yep, sorry. What's the square root of 7 times the square root of 3? Square root of 21. Did somebody say for me to pause?
I've caught up.
Okay. Next one, we're going to distribute it to the other number. 2 square root of 7 times the square root of 5. Well, what's the only number on the outside? The 2. Nothing to multiply it by. And what's the 7 times 5? Square root of 35. I'm looking to see. This one's strange. Okay. But it works. Okay. Everybody good so far? Yes, no? We're good? All right. Now, we're going to do the denominator. What is the square root of 3 times the square root of 3? 3. Yeah. Do I need to do the middle ones? Or are y'all just okay with skipping to the outside? What did y'all say? Skip. We'll skip on this one. Because what's going to happen with the 2 middle numbers, y'all? They're going to cancel out. So we'll skip to these 2. What's negative square root of 5 times the square root of 5? Negative 5. Okay? So let me rewrite my answer. I have 2 square root of 21. 2 square root of 35. Can't add those. Over negative 2. What do they all have? A 2. Okay? So what are we going to reduce it with? Reduce it by 2. So what do we end up getting? What's 2 divided by negative 2? Negative 1 square root of 21. And what's 2 divided by 2 divided by negative 2? Negative negative 1, and then bring down square root of 35. So that's your answer. You can't combine those. Remember, we learned that yesterday. They had to match to add and subtract. They don't have to match to multiply or divide.
Wait, they do match.
Nope, that's a 21 and that's a 35. And I can't simplify them down. Yeah, what's under the square roots have to match to add or subtract. Okay, let me pick out one more. What one do I want to do? Maybe 57. Yeah. I might do 57. Let me see the time. All right, y'all ready? Yep. All right, the last one, unless we need another one like this. 4 plus the square root of 6. I'm doing more on the top this time. And square root of 2 plus the square root of 3. So what are we going to multiply by?
Square root of 2 minus square root of 2.
Yep, I'm going to multiply both of those things by the square root of 2 minus the square root of 3. Okay, then we FOIL, top and bottom. Is everybody okay with that? This one, there is a little bit more to do in the top, in the numerator. What is 4 times the square root of 2? 4 square root of 2. What is 4 times negative square root of 3? Negative 4 square root of 3. Is everybody okay so far? All right, now what do we have to multiply? We have to distribute the square root of 6. What is the square root of 6 times the square root of 2? Okay, and then what is the square root of 6 times negative square root of 3? Negative square root of 18. Okay, now we'll simplify this one. All right, let's just do the first and the last because these are conjugates. I'm skipping some steps. I know that the middle parts are going to cancel out. Yeah.
Thank you.
And this one is a lot harder. I don't know if y'all see what's going to have to happen with the 12 and the 18. But it's like a nightmare, isn't it?
That's doing good. Never has to
Huh?
simplify.
I don't even know where to look.
Isn't it all over one? Negative one?
um,
No. It should be.
Because 2
At the end.
minus 3.
Mhm. I'm getting there. We're
I
going,
was just making sure because I already wrote it down.
but there's several more steps. A lot. A lot.
What is this test?
Well, being that we're only on the third lesson in the chapter,
Yeah.
I hoped to get through chapter 6 in January. Chapter 7, I love y'all.
Can we like do like half?
Chapter 7, which is geared for February. If y'all will just like tune in and focus, you don't have to have really much prior knowledge. You'll learn rules, and it's something you've never ever learned before. So anyway, it's.
Test how we've done before.
And I will tell you, no, I don't know about that. And chapter 7 is like 2 chapters in college algebra. And it's always great because we start chapter 7 right as college algebra starts logarithms. And so then I can help them with logarithms. Sounds scary. Logarithms.
Sounds like one square root. That's
roll.
4 times 3.
Yeah, I agree.
Should be 2 square root of 3. But there is a square root of 3. Yeah, and a square root of 2. You can combine square root of 2's and you can combine square root of 3's. Okay, everybody, this one, what's the square root of 2 times the square root of 2? And then the last ones, what's the square root of 3 times negative square root of 3? Negative 3. That's what Chloe was saying. Isn't the denominator negative 1? She was just jumping ahead of us. Okay, so I will go ahead and let me write the denominator as negative 1. Is everybody good with that? There's a problem with the numerator. Look at all those terms and none of them match. Does everybody see that? So square root of 2 can't be simplified. The one with the square root of 3 can't be simplified. Square root of 12. What times what is 12? 3 times 4. 4 is a perfect square. What times what is 18? That has a perfect square. It's not 6 and 3. It's 9 and 2. 6 and 3 aren't perfect squares. That doesn't help us any. 9 and 2 are. So look, I'm going to rewrite that. I'm doing extra steps. Y'all don't have to write the extra steps like me if y'all don't want to. I'm just writing what we just said. That's 4 times 3. And that's 9 times 2. Does everybody see what I did? Y'all don't have to write that step. Is everybody okay with that? I changed 12 to 4 times 3. And I changed 18 to 9 times 2. So let me simplify those. Is the bell about to ring on me? Not yet. Okay. What's the square root of 4? 2. I didn't mean that like in a. I was just thinking. I haven't been watching time. Okay. What's the square root of 9? 3. Okay. So look and see if you understand. All I did from here to here. The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 9 is 3. That's all I changed. Now, do we have any like terms? 2 of them. What is 4 square root of 2 minus 3 square root of 2?
It's just square root of 2.
It's just 1 square root of 2. I'm going to write it over here, y'all. And then I'm going to mark those off. What is negative 4 square root of 3 plus 2 square root of 3?
Negative 2 square root.
But then I have to divide those by negative 1. So what does my answer end up being?
Negative 2.
Negative square root of 2 plus 2 square root of 3. Ugh, that's a lot.
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely. As long as it's not, when are we going to use this in the world? Let me pause. Okay, I think I'm going to stop the video real quick because I think that's all.